Okay. Proceed. Actually, wait, sorry. One more thing.
Why? Bro! Why?
I was so set to start.
Cold
Okay.
open. Get used to it.
Yeah.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Star Wars Viva la Resistance. I am your host for the evening, the Cosmic Night Fury, Nico Suave Regoli, and wow, I'm in the hosting chair. This is like a bigger gamble than betting a ship you don't have in a game of sabacc against Lando Calrissian. Solo jokes. But yes, the episode we're covering today is episode 12, Dangerous Business, and I'm joined by my co-host for the evening to discuss this episode. First, he's the most musical and audibly gifted of the Skywalker family, Christopher Doman. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing very well. Yes, as you said, this is a gamble, but I have a feeling this is a gamble that, just like George Lucas self-financing Empire Strikes Back, could pay off immensely. So, we'll see.
And also joining us today, he's out of uniform for the day, but he still looks dapper as ever, the Grand Admiral, Case Cornelese. How are you today, sir?
Oh, we're going with our fandom names. That's interesting. Speaking of fandom, Nico, am I not facing you in a match soon? I think we are. Because
Yes.
finally, they uploaded those matches, which I've been plugging for weeks now. So yeah, Nico versus me. That's going to be fun. Anyway, yeah. We're going to talk about maybe my favorite episode of this season so far. So that's awesome.
Yes. So last week we kind of are all sort of to the agreement that if it wasn't a filler episode, it was at least a bit of a snoozer compared to the others. But this week they really picked things back up. Dangerous Business, basically the plot summary. Kaz, he's starting to get his footing as a spy, as a mechanic as well, and he makes a deal with Flix and Orka, the heads of the store, the market. Yes, the acquisitions market. He makes a deal with them that, hey, if you give me these parts, I'll do some work for you. Watch your shop while you go visit your mother for the day, and things go pretty smoothly until he runs into this very shady customer by the name of Chris. What's his name? Remind me again.
Taraj Key.
Taraj Key, and basically Taraj Key wants. What was the name of the part he wanted?
A phase connector. A
phase connector. Yes, he wanted a phase connector. And
just say there was a guy who wants a thing.
Yeah, there was a guy who wants a thing. Kaz would not let Guy have thing. Guy wants thing, breaks into store to grab thing, takes thing onto ship, steals it. Kaz blows up ship, and that's pretty much the summary of how things played out. Case, let's start with you. What did you think about this episode?
Well, as I say, I love this episode. What I love mostly is Cass. This was a Cass-heavy episode, and it showed his character progressing, how he's grown since the beginning. He was a worthless mechanic. He was not that great of a spy, and he was just kind of failing at most things he attempted at the beginning of the season. But throughout the season, we've seen him grow, and now he's actually getting to a point where he's a decent mechanic, actually making good repairs on the Fireball. He's actually a pretty good spy. And he took down an entire ship, which was pretty cool to see, actually. So yeah, I actually thought it was a great episode, especially to see Cass's progression. And I love like the little hint towards what we're going to get at the end of the season with the First Order. We saw the moment the Stormtroopers showed up, I was like, okay, this is serious. I want to see what is going to happen now. So I thought it was a really good episode.
Agreed. The old saying is, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. And Kaz has been trying for multiple episodes now, and he's finally getting the hang of things, both as a spy and as a mechanic, which works out well because he can maintain his cover. Chris, how about you? What did you feel about this episode?
Admittedly, I don't know if it's just because I'm still a little I'm still trying to get over just how weak I thought Bebo was as an episode. That I still don't feel like this episode is as on par as something like Station Theta Black or Signal from Sector 6. But I will say this episode is still actually, it's getting back in the right direction. We're finally getting back on course, and we're setting up for what's still going to be a hell of a finale. And in addition to that, like Case alluded to, Kaz is finally coming into his own as an actually good spy, because there are so many times I was just thinking to myself, like, okay, when's he gonna blow his cover? Oh, he hasn't blown his cover yet. Okay. Oh, now he's gonna blow his cover. Oh, and as the episode continues, he gets away with it. So it's just like, oh. And I have to also say, it's incredibly impressive to see him, actually be really smart in this episode. Like, I'm sure we'll get into like how he got himself out of the crate and whatnot. But yeah, this is a Kaz episode to show how far he's already come along, but also still to show he still has quite a ways to go before the end of this season. But it's still a strong episode, but it just didn't ring with me as emotionally like as some of the earlier works did.
That's fair. That's fair. Me, I'm kind of on more of the same pages. Case, I really enjoyed this episode. And, it might just be because I didn't enjoy last week's episode very much. And so, like, by comparison, it's just a matter of this one was way better than the other. So it's like when you haven't eaten in a long time, and so like this one burger that you've had at the same place for like over and over again, it tastes like the greatest burger you've ever had just because you're so hungry. If that's an analogy that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Before. But yeah, it was nice to see Kaz growing as a person, as a spy, as a mechanic, as I've said 3 times already in this episode alone. I'm very curious to see, because like the deal was, I'm going to watch your store for one day. And now when the store owners get back, when Flix and Orka get back, the store is basically in ruins. So now apparently the agreement has changed, as agreements usually do in Star Wars. See Lando Calrissian and Darth Vader. The agreement is now, you're going to work for us until you can officially pay us back and reimburse us for all the merchandise that either got destroyed or lost in sea. So
we're altering the deal. Pray we don't alter it any further.
Yeah.
Which also, quick side note. So, what is Flix and Orka's relationship?
Open-ended. Like
business partners. I think they're close friends.
I mean, look, because here's the thing. If they are a thing, they're still getting more action than I am, but I would like a little bit of clarification on that, please.
Well, here's the this is definitely a
relationship. PG show.
If anything, it's a relationship that probably won't get shipped a lot by the fan community in like terms of fan fiction. But
yes, it will.
you can definitely see like some Bert and Ernie Statler and Waldorf sort of married couple stories playing out there, of like how they bicker with each other, but you'll never see those two apart. Also, another thing I want to touch on is like this is the first episode where we get a fully developed story arc for a Gork. Bitey had a lot to do in this episode, and Bitey played a big role in how things played out in this episode.
A big role. He destroyed the ship single-handedly.
Well, single-toothedly, but
true.
But yeah, do you want to see more of Bitey down the road?
No, he's just like he's a plot device and a little bit of comic relief throughout this episode. That they just used for this once. If they can use him again as effectively as they did in this episode, good. Because I do think, like, as I said, he's a plot device. He makes sure, like, they use him to do something that helps the main character or main characters. So they can use him again like that. But he is not, like, Bitey is just that. Nothing more. There's nothing else to that. He's a vicious animal that likes to bite fingers off people.
Doman?
Yeah, I could do without seeing Bitey ever again. I mean, sure, if we see him in the background for something at Flix and Orka's shop, great, but he's not important to the overall story. Like, he's not the reason that, like, you know, they'll get off the Colossus as it's getting blown by the First Order. So he was fun.
Calling it right now, the Resistance actors who watch our show are going to tell Dave Filoni, "Hey, make an episode strictly about Bitey and how he got
The season
onto...
is already finished. You do know that,
But
right?
just wait till
Season
season 2.
We get a full arc of Bitey finding his way onto the Colossus and how he ended up with...
That will be on par with Double Agent Droid of Star Wars Rebels, and I will hate.
AP5's greatest hits. Buy it now on the HoloNet. Okay. So, we've talked about Kaz. We've talked about Bitey. We've talked about Flix and Orka. Do you think we're going to see... Remind me of who that shady customer was. I keep forgetting his name. Taraj Key. Do you think we're going to see him back in future episodes? Because obviously they still don't have the phase connector. So, will he continue trying to get a phase connector on the Colossus, or will the First Order probably send someone else?
No, and plus, okay, this is gonna sound incredibly dark, but if Rebels could get away with doing this, I think this show can get away with it too. I think the next time that we see him is when they're reporting back to the First Order. He's dead. They're gonna kill him for his failure because he's gonna try to talk his way out of it. You know, because he's one of the pirates who's working for the First Order, but I think he's dead.
Yeah, that could very well happen. I think that considering the fact that we saw stormtroopers and we are seeing more and more of Von Rack, Phasma, all of those important people of the First Order being involved with the Colossus, I think they want to take matters in their own hands at one point. Stop being
nice about
it. Being nice about it and stop depending on the pirates. So Taraj Key, he is probably going to die or be removed from his services, in which way the First Order wants to do that. But I think that the First Order is going to we're going to see a lot more of them in the next couple of episodes until the finale, because that's what we know the show is heading towards. I want to see more of that. So I don't want these middlemen who are pirates and fail at what they're supposed to do by the First Order. I just want to see the actual First Order in all their power and like we know they can be from the movies. Come to the Colossus, take over, and we'll get into some serious stuff towards the end of the season.
I can see where you're right. I mean, Taraj Key probably is going to get future endeavored. I'm just wondering, First Order, they'll try to find use for even their least competent people that they have under their payroll.
The Empire will do that. The First Order
is different.
No, they're far more ruthless.
Okay, fair enough.
Considering their stories, especially considering the story of the children from Tahar earlier on this season, it really, from the stories that we're hearing of people who are on the Colossus who've dealt with the First Order is ruthless. If you don't cooperate, you'll die. They'll raid your planet, they'll destroy people, and they don't care about it because that's how they are, led by Kylo Ren, who apparently is doing all that. So, considering that they're doing that, it's definitely not the Empire, and they're more of a, I wouldn't say they're more dangerous than the Empire.
Radicalized? Radicalized?
Yes.
Yeah, probably more radical than the Empire about it. Also, because of the fact that they're not the Empire, because the Empire was the order in the galaxy. If they are as ruthless, then the rebellion would be there a lot quicker, and a lot of people would stand up to that. The Empire sort of needed to keep control. The First Order doesn't need to do that because the New Republic is in power. So the First Order can do whatever the hell they want because they're not the power. So that's why I think they're doing this, which is dangerous.
Good points. Good points. So before we get to final thought, there's one more thing I want to bring up. And we mentioned Kaz's growth a lot in this episode. Growth as a spy, growth as a mechanic, growth as just a competent worker. What we haven't mentioned is his growth as a friend, because at the beginning of this episode, him and Tam are finally starting to really get along.
Oh, Tam is more forgiving of Cass because he doesn't mess up all the time. That's more the difference.
Fair.
But Tam has been frustrated with Cass since he became part of Yeager's crew because he was reputed as this capable mechanic, and then she sees what she's gotten, and it's a turd sandwich. And now he's finally showing some competency as a mechanic. He's working on the fireball before her shift has even started in the morning, and he's got it all fixed and ready for her to go and for her to test out. So that's the one thing she wanted, was to fly the fireball, and now Kaz is bright and early in the morning, and he's all set and ready to go for you to take a spin. And she's like, "Thank you." So
except for the power coupling is not installed correctly, but thank you, Kaz.
Hey, when you've messed up so many damn times, you'll take what you can get.
Yeah. And that's that's actually a really great point you brought up, and actually a really funny line from Niku. Just man. I was missing that Niku. The Niku in small doses who brings the perfect line each time. But yeah, no, that was a very tender moment, especially because, Tam has been kind of a hard ass on Kaz, and I'm glad to see that she's starting to lighten up as he begins to, get better at what he does. Now, is that going to make her kidnapping by the First Order that we know is going to happen from the trailer all the more heart-wrenching? Yes.
Yes.
But am I still
we already like her, but we want her to get along, and now they're getting along, and then she's going to get taken away. And then Cass is going to be like Finn when he sees Rey in Force Awakens being carried away by Kylo. Rey! Exactly. That's going to be Cass. Tam!
Except now, but this does have me worried about one important thing. Is this friendship going to overtake? Is this going to blow holes in our ship, gentlemen?
No. The only thing that will blow holes in that ship is Sonara, not Tam.
But she's the dark horse, man. It could happen.
Anarchy pirate jokes. Okay. Okay. So, getting into final thoughts. In case, we'll start with you.
I think I already gave mine. I really like this episode. I thought it was great for especially Cass. I want to see more of that. I want to see more of Cass's growth because, as you say, while we did see a lot of improvement in his character in this episode, there is still a lot of improvement to be had in his character in the rest of the season. And I can't wait to see that because considering how much I love this episode, can't wait to see more of it. And I can't wait to see more of the First Order's involvement with the Colossus because I know it will happen. I know it'll be great. I saw it in the trailer, and I can't wait. So I'm very excited now. Not unlike the last episode where it was like, yeah, I like this episode, but where was anything that was kind of promised to us? Nothing. Oh, here it is. This episode shows it. So, yes, please.
Mr. Doman.
To reiterate, I enjoyed it. It didn't emotionally grab me though.
You are wrong.
I know. I'm a horrible person because it's just like that one episode of Rebel season 3 with Mon Mothma's message. Like it was a good episode and everything, but it did nothing for me emotionally. But and same thing here. Now, I've been seeing some seeds planted as of this episode that are going to lead to great things. And those are what I'm looking forward to. Because we're just that much closer to when the First Order is going to take over the Colossus and then the real adventure is going to begin. So, that's where I'm sitting.
All right. And as for me, I want to continue seeing the evolution of the character of Kaz as well. I want to see him get even better as a spy and as a mechanic. Like right now, Case said that he is in the decent realm. I want to see him get to the good and then to the great level, because then he's a real standout character at that point. I also want to see a little bit more of Flix and Orka, like with Kaz working with them more at acquisitions now. I kind of want to see more of them and more of like what is their dynamic throughout an entire day, because like we get to see the store for an entire day, but we do not get to see them and how they operate in the store for an entire day. And so like just I don't know. Maybe we could get like a Clerk style episode of Star Wars Resistance. Delman loves it. Case hates it.
I don't know Clerks. I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, as a Star Wars fan, you are obligated to watch Clerks. Like, that's requirement.
As a Middle Earth fan, I'm kind of hurt.
Well, that's Clerks 2, and that's not as good. But Clerks 1, they have a great conversation about the construction of the Death Star, which you need to watch.
Okay. All right.
Kevin Smith will have words for you, sir. But yeah, I want to see more of Kaz, more of Flix and Orka, and I definitely think we're going to see more stormtroopers having a presence on the Colossus, which is going to lead to the First Order officially making their presence known on the platform. And of course, I want to see more of the friendship between Kaz and Tam grow, because like again, they started hating each other. Now they're starting to actually look like friends. Yes, they're accepting each other and becoming real friends. So like, yay, growth. That's basically what I see. What I want to see is more growth and more advancement of
a character arc.
Yes. And also, I'm looking at the title of next week's episode, the Doza Dilemma. So I guess that means we're going to see more of the Doza family dynamic and the shenanigans that they will get up to.
Which way too happy about this.
Yes.
What should be a Captain Doza episode and not Torah?
And to be honest, I actually want that because Captain Doza is probably the most interesting character on the show now. Like, as soon as we saw that Imperial outfit reveal, I'm sorry, he's more interesting than Yeager.
Fair enough. But those were our final thoughts. This has been our discussion of the episode Dangerous Business for Star Wars Resistance. And now we shall go to plugs. Christopher Doman, where can the good people of the internet find you?
Well, this is weird starting with plugs, but hey, why not? You guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Stardust, and Letterboxd at Skywalker Doman. You guys can follow this very channel on Twitter and Instagram at D2A Channel. Please like our Facebook page. And stay tuned for this Friday on the Who Cares Anyway podcast when we have Joe Findlay from the Miscast Commentary podcast to talk about pitches for a Knights of the Old Republic adaptation.
Ooh, interesting. And Case Cornelese, where can the good people find you?
Well, first I'll say, guys, if you like the video, give it a like, comment on it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can find me on Multiplex Entertainment, facing the Arkham Knights with Chris pretty soon, and facing Nico in the semifinal of the TV Fandom Tournament, which I'll probably lose, in his charity week. So all the more reason for him to win that match. I hope he wins. I think he wins. We'll see about that in the charity week. And you can find me at Dutch Movie Guy on Twitter, Case Cornelis on Facebook. That's about it.
And since I'm in charge, I can go as long with these plugs as I want to, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be a jerk. I'm not going to be a jerk. But you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Nico Suave Regoli. That's NicoSuaveRegoli. You can find me right here on Dedicated to Art for Star Wars Resistance stuff, for other Star Wars stuff, and for upcoming Schmodown reactions. You can find me over on Film Nerd TV for Combat Zone Wrestling Trivia and the Week of Wrestling podcast. And you can find me over on Multiplex Entertainment. That's the name of the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. The Twitter is at MultiplexYT. The Instagram is Multiplex Entertainment Network. The TeePublic is just Multiplex. Buy our awesome shirts like this one right here. And you can find me in Brooklyn, New York from January 24th to January 26th for the Schmodown live event coming up. And for the remainder of the week, of that week, starting tomorrow, all the way to January 27th, January 21st to January 27th, we're talking the John Regoli Memorial Trivia-thon for Thon. Hashtag trivia, the number 4 Thon. We're doing matches between Full Metal Trivia, Multiplex, Jukebox Trivia, and Combat Zone Wrestling Trivia for the Combat Zone Wrestling Trivia Heavyweight Championship, might I add. All throughout the week to raise money for the Four Diamonds Pediatric Cancer Research Fund as part of Penn State New Kensington's annual Thon Drive for the Penn State Thon event. Click the link in the description of each of the videos for that week and donate. We're trying to raise $6,000, so share all those videos with as many people as possible, and together let's help find a cure for cancer. But with that said, I have been Nico Suave Regoli. That is Case Cornelese. That is Christopher Doman. And remember, Viva la Resistance!
And may the force be with you, always.
Yeah!